program.
Yes.
But the state is looking at the screen and they say Pleasance Lane last year, 44.62% of the students enrolled at Pleasance Lane were chronically absent, which is the identification of what does chronically absent mean. So they missed how many days?
At least 10%.
At least 10% of the days where they were enrolled, and that's what they saw. And so now we're comparing in the red to where they are today. If the state or anyone was looking in the system to say, here's where that school sits as of today in comparison to where they were in May, which is what the state looked at for the totality of the school year. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
So again, that's different from what we looked at last month, but we kind of keeping our eye on what the goal is to make sure that each school is paying close attention. Then again, this is the average daily attendance. Remember, this is our own internal goal, and we would like our average daily attendance to be at least 95%. This is showing where we were last year to the same point in time this year. So this is average daily attendance. Now we can see that at some of the schools, it's about the same, and at a few schools, it's a little lower, and a few a little bit more. So I have Dr. Manson here who's going to actually share what we're doing at the school-based level, as well as in the division to support and attack chronic absenteeism.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Good evening, Chairman Pritchett, Vice Chairman Pierce, fellow members of the board, Madam Superintendent, and all of those assembled. This evening, I'm just going to give you a brief overview. Some of the things are still consistent to what we were doing last time. But one of the things that we do, as I stated to you all back in July, this is a revolving door. So as we go through, as I meet with principals, as we have the discussion, we're going to be making changes as we go through. Some of the changes I think made just about 2 hours ago based off of conversations with administrators, what they had in the meeting today with Ms. Hines as attendance clerks and all was in those meetings. So it's a revolving door, and we're going to continue to change, and we go back based off of the data. I'm always data driven. That's all we do in special education is data driven, and we also follow regulations. And so it's based off of the data, and we're going to see some changes. So one of the things that we're still doing, but we need to ensure, is that we're having our teams meet with our McKinney-Vento liaison for those students who are underneath McKinney-Vento, that our mental health staff is being part of those meetings on a consistent basis, that all schools are following this. We've also created, as I stated previously, a division-wide template for our attendance meetings. We need to ensure that they're following those attendance meetings. We need to make sure our counselors were there. I did find out from someone today, so I'm gonna review the, we reduced down, if you can recall, we reduced down the attendance plan to 1 page. I got some recommendations to take a look at this evening after the board meeting to see if we're gonna make some few changes to those attendance plans to make it even simpler for them. What I try to do is, I try to eliminate principals and school staff has so much on their plate. So as I stated to you all in July, our role is to service schools. And so I want to make their job easier. And so one of the things is, if I need to make some adjustments to those, I will make those adjustments based off of what they tell me. And then as I stated to you, we provide teams with guidance documents on roles of supporting staff. What we did was, we went through, we provided every single supporting staff what their role should be in there, what their focus should be, what they should be doing, so that the principals don't have to tell them, they can see it. And it was shared with those school-based mental health staff all today in regards to what their roles were, also with the truancy officers. Next slide, please. And then you can see as far as the chronic absenteeism, I'll focus on that. It's still this early identification with the weekly monitoring and flagging, parent engagement, direct communication, and then you also can see the wraparound support services for the mental health. We're going to do a special training with our Comprehensive Services Act coordinator from DSS in regards to what other, we found out we had some additional funds, so what other funds we can use and how wraparound services we can use for that additional funds that were located and that Petersburg can utilize for those students on the chronic absenteeism. And then we're going to, of course, we just started, we're going to be monitoring our weekly teams with our central office team leads, we'll be monitoring them, and then we're going to have legal actions referrals. We're going to be pushing more of the legal action for those students who are referred. As over those days, we just hired an additional truancy person 2 weeks ago. She's already hitting the ground running. She's met with court service and all, and so we're going to be moving forward with more legal actions on those families. Next slide, please. So next steps for support. So we review the school teams, of course, I just stated, attendance and initiative to provide targeted feedback and support to those teams, to the attendance team to provide that. One of the things did was I informed the principals last week, and I also spoke with, Ms. Fields was today, and I spoke with another principal on Monday in regards to we may need to add an additional attendance meeting, but just simply based off of chronic absenteeism. Because we do have an issue with chronic absenteeism, so it may need to be just a whole separate single meeting. So we moved from one attendance meeting to 2 attendance meetings that week, and that one based off of chronic absenteeism. Recoupment of time, so we're doing a partnership with Dr. Jobner. Previously, as I told you, she was a school social worker for Petersburg. We're partnering with her. She will be at our next she'll be at our next principals meeting, where she's going to talk to us about recoupment of time. They added some additional things in there that you can look at how you recover that time. She's going to come in, talk about that, and help us develop a plan where it's going to be a centralized plan working with schools so we can maximize the recoupment of that time. And then you see the health and prevention collaboration. One of the things, if you looked at that data, you did see how attendance was affected. One of the things I always like to talk to attendance teams and all, one of the things we're doing is we're working with families to understand. We had an increase in students with hand, foot, and mouth. And so what happened is we found out, talking to our elementary principals, what they were doing was we would notify. If you get on Parent Square, you see you get the notification that we may have had some cases. So some of the parents were confused because you have to remember we're coming out of a pandemic. So they were confused. If you're not actually displaying it or having it, if it's not bubbling up or you saw it on you, you can come to school. But when the parents got that notification, they were not sending their students to school. And the students who may have been in the classes with some of those students were not coming to school. So that directly impacted. So what we've done is Nurse Hamlin is working with them in regards to informing our parents about hand, foot, and mouth. What is the details on that? But we're also, through Mr. Brown, he's working with, because we want to be proactive. We know we're going to come up to viral season with the flu and all. So we're working with our nurses department and with our physical education department to move back to how we did during the pandemic, COVID pandemic, in the health and physical education classes, teaching appropriate hygienes and all, so we can prepare ourselves as we move forward to the winter months. And then, of course, we just continue to monitor our timelines. Next slide, please. Then some of the final things we're doing, as I stated before, we're putting a big focus in on recoupment in the month of November. It's going to be a strategy that we're going to do for us. We're covering up those hours and strategies. We're looking at a tad bit of name change to it, what we can call it meaningful learning. I think that name change, instead of saying recovery, but call it meaningful learning, letting parents know this is meaningful learning, how we're targeted, focused in on it for meaningful learning. So that's one of the things we're considering. And then, of course, we have our target intervention strategies where we utilize our check and connect and target supports to address credit recovery. And then we're also looking at our attendance goal, maintain progress towards achieving that at 95% just for our daily attendance. But the biggest thing we're trying to continue to do, we have a partnership, and Mr. Pritchett was instrumental in linking us with one of our councilmen in regards to homes. And so for the last month and a half, we were able to get 3 families who was experiencing chronic absenteeism with permanent living homes. So we were able to get those 3 families. One family is 2 families of 5, and then we have another family of 3. And all of those students in that family were living in hotels, and they were experiencing chronic absenteeism, but we have them in permanent living quarters. They have homes and all, and they don't even have to pay their first payment on anything until December 1st, and they're going to receive assistance by making that first payment also. So that's some good news. And then we have 2 other families that we have located, and we're working with them, and hopefully we'll have them in the other 2 homes. He had a total of 5, and those other 2 homes by the end of next week. And then we're looking at one family who we just set up an apartment also, and went through with the apartment. So these are what we're doing for our students, because students on McKinney-Vento, one of the most chronic ones we've had throughout the division, 45%. So we've been focusing on them. And then we got an initiative through our partnership with VTSS, Virginia Tier System of Supports. We were awarded $40,000 with the basis of working on discipline and chronic absenteeism. So that will give us some extra additional funds to work with family engagement and all to do some canvassing. After hours, as I previously told you, I found out it's more successful for me to visit homes after hours, after the workday hours, and also on some weekends. So now through this system right here, because I wrote it in the plan, that that's what we'll be doing, we have those funds to help build upon our outreach to our families. And so those are the things that we're currently doing to try to improve our chronic absenteeism and our daily attendance on a daily basis.
Great.
Next slide, please. Any questions?
Mr. Lundy.
I have a question, but I'm going back. I'm still still concerned about 500 in Pleasant Lane, 500 in Cool Spring. And so then how are we gonna start gauging whether the success of learning is taking place? Because those students are being piled up as they come. Our numbers are actually growing. We have a lot of different people in our city at this time. And so that's why we're trying to look at that differently. Those 500s came on board twice. Remember, I think we were speaking about it. And it bears a lot of changes on children altogether. And so I hope that's something we can look at, something that we might need to have some types of challenges for, because we need to know whether our kids are getting the academics that they really need and not being piled up in rooms with 500 in each school. That's a lot.
And I think our curriculum that we're focusing in on also, but then Dr. Jackson's gonna go through the map assessment to show you how our students are performing also. But I think that our curriculum, which is innovative, engaging, I think that would assist us. And with the map assessment and that identification underneath that, it'll let you know exactly how our students are performing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother.